Today is April the 24th, 2016 is 12:40 in the afternoon on a Sunday. We have the house all opened up and I am sitting here reading a novel that I got out of my library last night down in the basement, or the lower level. It's not really a basement because you can walk out and there's windows and there's doors and storage room. We put the lawnmower and I still had, talk about down in the lower level. There are two bikes down in the lower level that I have refused to give away, and one of them is a bike that Carol had when I was dating her 37 years ago. I refused to get rid of it, and because I remember when I met Carol, she used to ride that bike. And I've taken it to Mississippi, taken it to Houston, Texas, and back up here to Holland all these years. And I kept our daughter's bike when she was a girl. I have a bike that I bought last year, a 10-speed from our neighbor, and I haven't even ridden it. I haven't. I put it in my van, in the back of the van. It just sits there because there's no room in the garage to put it. So I should get riding the 10-speed. I tell myself, this is the year, this spring, I'm going to go out and ride the bike. Years ago when I lived in California, that's all I had was a 10-speed. I didn't get my driver's license until I was 26 years old. But I always rode a 10-speed or hitchhiked or took the rapid transit or bus, or I just walked. I used to walk miles when I was young. Now it's good if I can walk around the block. So I'm sitting here writing in my diary. It is on page 348. And it is 12:42 Sunday afternoon, and yeah, I got this novel out last night. I'm not sure if I'll read the whole thing. I think I started reading it when I got it. I think I got it out of some book sale, used book sale. It's called Busy Monsters by William Gerdell. I found out this morning when I was on Amazon that he has a memoir coming out in August of 2016, and I pre-ordered it. I can't resist memoirs. I keep thinking about doing a video on all the memoirs and biographies that I have bought that I have not read. Talking about biographies, I got this biography last week. It cost me a penny and $3 postage from Amazon. This is a biography on the writer Elizabeth Bowen, Portrait of a Writer by Victoria Glenning. This Victoria Glenning, I have her biography on Anthony Trollope, her biography on Catherine Mansfield, and I have her biography on who else? Oh, Edith Sitwell, The Unicorn Among the Lions, and I have her on Vita and one on Rebecca West, her biographies. Cost me a penny, but $3 postage. And I have short stories by Elizabeth Bowen, and I have a couple of novels by her. She was a writer around the time of Virginia Woolf in the 1920s. She knew Iris Murdoch, Merle Spark. Among her friends was Virginia Woolf, T.S. Eliot, Evelyn Waugh, and Graham Greene, and she was a British writer. And I keep looking for her novels. It's really hard to find, but I recommend her writings and her short stories. Elizabeth Bowen. I'm still reading Paris Vagabond. I'm really enjoying this by Paul Jean Serbert. And yesterday I was looking for a book down in my library, and I came across another book on Paris that I forgot I had. This one is called Paris Was a Woman, Portraits from the Left Bank. And this is once again it's looking at the women of the left bank, the artists, writers, the woman who, just the women of that time period, and Gertrude Stein, uh, just a bunch of them. And this is by Andrea West, so I recommend this. I've been looking through it. It has nice photographs. There's a picture of Gertrude Stein, who's the most familiar, and I really recommend this. It gives a more balanced perspective on the time period. We tend to get the male perspective on the left bank in the 20s in the Bohemian community, but we need a feminist perspective on that time period. And this is a good book. Paris Was a Woman, Portraits from the Left Bank by Andrea West. And I'm still reading The Other Paris by Lou Sante. I really like this book. All the illustrations, and it's a great book. I got these books last week in the mail. The Treatise on True Theology, The Life of Francis Juntus. He lived from 1545 to 1602. He was one of the early Protestant scholastics, and in this is his biography, his life, and then his treatise on true theology. I still read theology. I'm a student of church history. I'm a student of Protestant scholasticism, mystical theology, monastic spirituality, Protestant spirituality. So that's why I got it. This is put out by Reformation Heritage Books, which is found in Grand Rapids, which is the next city east of us. So I got that in the mail. And then I've been reading this one. It's a new book, The Fourfold Gospel, a theological reading of the New Testament, Portraits of Jesus by Francis Watson. This groundbreaking approach to the study of the Fourfold Gospel offers a challenging alternative to prevailing assumptions about the creation of the Gospels and the portraits of Jesus. How and why does it matter we have these four Gospels? Why were they placed alongside one another as four parallel yet diverse retelling of the same story? Since being a Christian, you have a theological Christology, which is the doctrine of Christ, which looks at it theologically. But I'm always, in these last 10 years, I'm really interested in historical Jesus, looking at Jesus in his historical context, and not so much looking at him from a theological, reformed perspective. So I've been reading this. It's a really good book. I have another book of Francis Watson. It's called Paul, Judaism, and the Gentiles Beyond the New Perspective. I got that book when we were living in Houston, Texas, back in the 80s. I was teaching in a Christian school, the Gospel of Matthew, which is a long story, which I won't go into. And then I got this book in the mail, Godly Prayer and Its Answers by John Brown of Wamtray. He lived during the 17th century. He lived from 1610 to 1679, was a Scottish minister who was imprisoned for opposing episcopal rule and subsequently exiled to the Netherlands. I have another book of his. This is a reprint. This was first published, I think it was first published in, it doesn't say, wait a minute, it was first published, I don't know, sometime in the 17th century. So I collect books on prayer throughout all church history, and so I'm always looking for good books on prayer. Here's another book called Christian Dogmatics, Reformed Theology for the Church Catholic, edited by Michael Allen and Scott R. Twain. I haven't really looked at this yet, but I collect. It looked really interesting. So when I get into a frame of mind to read Reformed Dogmatics, I wanted to read this. I'll probably get around to it sometime this year. So these are the books I got: Reformed Dogmatics, Reformed Theology in the Church Catholic, by Michael Allen and Scott Twain. It follows the same kind of format as a theology. The Knowledge of God is by Michael Allen, The Holy Scripture by Van Hooser, Divine Attributes, an essay by Michael Allen, Divine Trinity by Scott Twain, Covenant of Redemption by then you have A Creation of Nothing by John Webster, Providence, goes on and on. So it looks interesting. So that's what I'm reading. So I'll close until the next time. Bye.